Hey, it's Matt from Hidden Machine here. I just wanted to give everyone that watches a little update on what's going on with the channel. Not that anyone's knocking down my door wondering what's up, but I just feel like sharing because, we have more subs now than we ever have, and we continue to get new subs daily, but this is also the longest gap between uploads we've ever had. So I just wanted to take a moment to kind of explain what's going on. The lack of uploads has nothing to do with burnout or loss of interest or anything, but more to do with an increase in the scale and scope of the type of videos that we're making. I mentioned in a previous video on Alan Wake 2, which I'm very excited about, that I'd be putting out a long form video about the entire sort of recap of everything leading up until the sequel. Something that I hope will get everyone on the same page and also be useful for people who kind of want to get past some of the surface level sort of mysteries and things that are easily confused in the story, and help people who want to get deeper into more, complex theory crafting and some of the more obscure themes of the game. I'm hoping this will kind of put everything together in one place in an easy to digest video. And that is coming. So I've been taking a few weeks to finish writing it, and I plan on shooting that later today. And it should be out by the end of this week, but I wanted to put something out in the meantime to kind of say, hey, that's coming, because I've actually had a few people ask, like, hey, you still doing that? Yeah, it just is a very big project, and I wound up having to replay through large chunks of all of the games that are covered in that video to get footage. I didn't have everything that I thought I had in my archive. It's about 25 pages long. I also have to edit and make sure it's concise and cohesive, because I'm talking about information from 4 different games. I say 4, maybe 3 different games, books, the blog, everything, trying to put it all together in one place. So it's just a lot to sift through, but that is on the way. And at the same time, I'm working on a series of other videos that I want to just mention and kind of give a heads up so you can kind of see what the roadmap is going forward for Hidden Machine. Now, I want to note that these are videos that are actually currently in production, in various states of production. These aren't things that I hope to do this one day, or I hope to start working on this. These are things that I've either started the script already, I've already shot stuff for, it's currently being edited, or I'm waiting on certain pieces to come in. One of the things is a long retrospective piece on this game, Obsidian. This is a 1997, I believe. Wikipedia says this came out in 97, January, but the copyright date on the box is 96. So either way, this is sort of a game that I think is representative of the end of an era. Things became a lot more consolidated once the PlayStation and the N64 kind of put things in motion for, one style of game that would become ubiquitous, especially the way 3D would work with the dual analog sticks over time. Like, all that stuff started right around 95, 96, and then by 97, 98, it was off to the races and there was no turning back. I have been speaking to some of the people that made this game, and I've been working on just trying to dig as deep as I can into the production of it and the philosophy behind it and the game itself and the story. And this is something that has been out of print for a long time. It's available on abandonware sites, and you can use the Scum emulator to play it if you can get a working copy. I had a hard time finding a working copy, even on some of the more reliable abandonware sites, but it's my understanding that the game is slated to make a comeback, and I'm hoping that my video on Obsidian will coincide with the sort of modern, re-release of this game. It's not like a remake or anything, it's just getting fixed up and ported, but this is one of the things I'm working on. I've been talking to the devs. I'm getting flustered because it's so hot in here, and I have not finished my coffee. I've been talking to different people, key roles in the game. I'm hoping to talk to 1 or 2 more. It's a really incredible title that has so many influential people worked on that and passed through that studio, Rocket Science Games, and worked on this title in particular. It's a really interesting story to tell that I am excited to tell. So I've got the interviews recorded. I'm just wrapping up some of my research, and I'll be dropping that hopefully by the end of summer. But again, this is sort of like I don't want to say documentary. I really love documentary filmmaking, and I don't think that's what I do. But it is, I'd say, a long-form retrospective. Maybe is a fine way to put it. If it's not completely evident yet, this video is not scripted, so I'm starting and stopping a lot. But the research on Rocket Science Games and talking to the people there led me to look deeper into the history of SegaSoft, which is another really interesting story. You know, anyone who was around in the late 90s when Sega got out of the console business, Sega was doing a lot of interesting stuff leading up to that, and it's just a very unique time in gaming history. I mean, it's always a unique time in gaming history, but I find this particularly interesting, and getting to speak to some of these people again, it's just getting a different perspective. It's a cool story that I want to try to tell as best I can. So another long form piece I'm earlier on in my research still is on SegaSoft. But these developer interviews are something that I am trying to continue doing. So I did do an interview via email with the developer of a game called Nyx Umbra that I'll be putting out very soon. I also spoke recently to the developers of a game called Super 56, and that video is going to be a long form look at WarioWare type microgame games. You know, things in that microgame genre where you get maybe 1 to 3 seconds to figure out your objective, and then you do it, and then you're on to the next. I think that's a really interesting sort of subgenre of gaming that there's no like microgame tag on Steam or anything. And there's a lot of games in that genre that I was not aware of until I started digging deeper and going like, why aren't there more WarioWare clones? Well, there's a ton. And the reason I haven't played most of them is because most of them don't seem to come to the US, and the ones that are in the US are pretty small indie titles that are easily missed if you're not, you know, looking directly for them. It's hard to market a no budget, low budget indie game. I've been trying to talk to as many people involved in that kind of stuff as possible, and that's another video that is almost ready to launch. It's just, you know, with trying to reach out to all these different places, sometimes it takes a few weeks to get in contact with all the right individuals. Sometimes it takes a few weeks just to track down their contact information. So another long form piece you can look forward to is on the history of microgames. Now, again, speaking of interviews, a lot of people like the Alan Wake content. I get it. It's probably one of my favorite games. The whole Remedy thing is kind of what I'm all about in terms of like, you know, storytelling and mystery and gaming. I love all that stuff. So definitely have more Alan Wake related stuff leading up to Alan Wake 2. I have one video that I'm working on, which is covering all of the cut content of Alan Wake. Not the early prototype builds, the open world stuff necessarily, but more things that were in the game that they over time were, this doesn't fit. I'm trying to cover all that as much as I can with the resources that are out there. And I'm also going to be doing a video about the marketing of Alan Wake, which I think is really unique. The more I've looked into it, there's certain elements of the marketing that aren't really ever talked about. You know, there's the big thing like the Bright Falls web series. People know about that. But there's been a few other things that I was shocked to learn about that I'd, being an Alan Wake fan for years now, had never heard of until I started digging deeper specifically into, what was the marketing campaign like at the time of launch. And I recently got to do an email interview with the creative director of the Bright Falls web series, who gave me a lot of interesting insights about the production of that show and a few other minor things that were happening around that time to promote the game. So that's another video that is almost ready to go. I'm hoping to get back from one more person. There's one more person I'd like to talk to that was heavily involved in a lot of these projects that I have not made direct contact with yet. Kind of holding out hope I can. If I can't, I'm just gonna have to drop it as is. And that's another thing that I'm kind of learning as I go forward with these sorts of projects. It's like, how long do I hold out? If I have a project that's like 90% ready to go, but I'd like that last 10% to be informed by a conversation with a person who isn't necessarily very easy to contact or isn't super interested in being interviewed. Or, a lot of people do email interviews easier than they'll do like a recorded like webcam or phone interview. But some people are just kind of like, as in the past, no hard feelings, but I'm just kind of like, I'm not really interested in talking about it. How many follow-ups do I send? Do I, look for someone else? How do I find those other people? Especially when they don't have active contact, or they're on Twitter and you can no longer DM them, or they're on X, I'm sorry. It's the kind of thing where I go, okay, where do I set my own deadline for a project like this and go, hey, what I got is what I got. And maybe someone else later on down the line can pick up where I left off and continue to expand these stories if they want to. Gaming journalism isn't like a one and done, There's all sorts of great pieces that are informed by the research that other people have done before those people. So that's another thing that I'm kind of trying to balance right now in terms of, getting the videos out, just kind of setting a cutoff date for myself. The last big piece that I'm working on is this is one of the more in-depth things, but I love hip hop. I don't talk about it on the channel very much, but I am involved in making music. That's another reason why production slows down in the summer, because I'm doing a lot more gigs. But I love hip hop and I love video games, and I wanted to do a long form piece on the intersection of hip hop and gaming. I go as far back as I can into the late 70s, early 80s, up until today, and kind of cover pretty much every aspect of it that I can. It's definitely not going to be exhaustive, but it's I'm pretty proud of it so far. So that one is, again, almost ready. I'm waiting to hear back, again, from a few people who I'd like to interview. And a lot of the time what happens, not to put anyone on blast, I'll make contact, and then it's just phone tag for a couple weeks trying to get, damn, couldn't make this date. Can we reschedule for this date? Something came up. Can we do this date? That happens, what are you gonna do? So hip hop and gaming, that's the other big piece that I'm working on. And of course, as always, Jordan is on the channel several times a week doing the live streams. He's been playing through Prey. We also started a couple games that we haven't finished. I think that he and I are like, let's do this co-op game, and then it turns out to not be like extremely engaging. I think we've had more fun playing Fall Guys than anything else, but I'm kind of speaking for Jordan. And also, Jordan and I are doing more of the Yeah, I've Played, which is the series in which we get a few people, we all play the same game, and then like a book club, we come together and discuss the experience in depth. We have a new one coming out soon. This is a long time coming, but it is going to be on Beyond Two Souls by Quantic Dream, which will be followed by Detroit Become Human. Detroit Beyond Human and Become Two Souls, those games are bonkers. Love talking about them with people. So anyway, that's all the stuff that's happening, what you can look forward to in this long rambling update that I've given. I'm curious if you're still here. A lot of people have asked me about the Alan Wake 2 coverage. What kind of Alan Wake 2 coverage do you want to see? What interests you, especially once the game launches? What sort of stuff are you, thinking you might, it's hard to say because you haven't played the game yet, but do you like the lore analysis? Do you like more of the production stuff? What kind of stories are you interested in hearing when it comes to these sorts of games, specifically Alan Wake 2? Anyway, thanks to everyone who's been supporting the channel through the Patreon. I will say it was through Patreon funds that I purchased this. This is a second copy of Alan Wake Illuminated, which I have deconstructed. This is my copy. I bought a second one with the Patreon money, and I have deconstructed it and have been scanning it. That book has never been properly scanned or digitized. It's been out of print for well over a decade now, and I don't think that what I'm doing necessarily falls into fair use, per se, but I'm going to put it on the Internet Archive, and if the copyright holders don't like that, they can let me know, I feel like it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission in a situation like this with a book that I think has so much incredible, unique information for a beloved series, and it's just not available to anyone. So I am trying to make that happen. Well, I am making that happen. It's happening. Again, that's just another long process, doing high quality scans of a book, or even properly taking the book apart so I don't rip any of the pages. It all takes time, and there's never enough hours in a day. So that's what's up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. If you've made it this far, but I have nothing more to say. So I'm losing my voice a little bit, which kind of sucks because I'm hoping to record a 3-hour long Alan Wake video later this evening. So hopefully I can get it back. I'll give myself some tea or something. All right. Anyway. Bye.